This is KGW News at noon.
And we start at noon with some wet fall weather. Take a look at our sky cams from the coast to the metro area and into the gorge. The work week starts with rain, but that forecast is going to change. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Brenda Braxton. We want to bring in meteorologist Rod Hill this noon. So, Rod, the rain starting to taper off?
Well, it's starting to break up. I think it's probably a better way to put it, Brenda. We had steady rain all morning. Now that's breaking into showery weather that will be with us for the remainder of this afternoon. Here's the solid rain band up in the Cascades. That's what we have been dealing with. If you've been outdoors in the last 30 minutes, maybe you found some dry time. You can see that here. But notice there are scattered showers all the way back off of the coast. So still potentially fairly wet this afternoon. It just won't be steady rain. I am happy to tell you that we've at least met the kind of the lower threshold of what I thought would be the guaranteed rain amounts. I thought we'd at least get 1/4 of an inch on average up and down I-5. Salem 31/100ths as a matter of fact. There's Tillamook at 1/2 of an inch. We thought the coast would at least get 1/2 of an inch or more. Again, kind of the bottom threshold is what we've already reached. In fact, you folks up at the airport in Kelso in Cowlitz County, only 14/100ths of an inch. Still very cloudy out there. This is Stoller Family Vineyards Estate down in Dayton and Yamhill County, and raindrops on the Lens over downtown Portland from the Wells Fargo building. We're at 61. We do have some noticeable breezy south winds still out there. Scattered showers this afternoon. Probably fairly quickly end once we get past sunset and get to 8 o'clock tonight. 58 degrees at that time. I do have a lot of dry weather coming up in my 7-day, Brenda. That's in my complete forecast.
Thank you, Rod. Oregon State Police say the driver accused of killing a family of 4 from Troutdale is expected to face criminal charges. The crash happened Thursday night as the family traveled to Central Oregon to see the eclipse. OSP says a Chevy Silverado crossed the center line on Highway 97 in Redmond. Troopers say it sideswiped a semi before hitting and killing Gary, Michelle, Ryan, and Kate Rutledge. Their SUV burst into flames. The kids, who were 15 and 17 years old, attended Reynolds High School. The driver of the Silverado has not been publicly identified but was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. OSP says specific charges will be announced once its investigation wraps up. Turning now to the war in the Middle East. Thousands are lining up at the Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt, hoping to escape the violence. Israel revealed Hamas has taken almost 200 hostages, more than initially reported. In the meantime, Israeli troops are at the border with Gaza, and their leaders say airstrikes will continue. NBC's Jay Gray is in Tel Aviv with an update.
Well, we've had evidence throughout the day and within the last hour or so that the Iron Dome over Tel Aviv is still operating. Several aerial assaults that have been thwarted by that system. And that has continued really around the clock here at different intervals. But again, within the last hour or so, a couple of those missiles were diverted and removed from the airspace over Tel Aviv. What we've seen throughout the day here, and we're in one of the marketplaces in the downtown area, it would normally be bustling throughout the day. It's reaching close to closing time now, but throughout the day it's been relatively empty. In fact, many of the shops just not opening because of the situation that Israel is involved in right now. We talk to people in this area who will tell you that they are tentative, that there is a lot of concern right now about what's going on and what's to come in this situation. Not only do we see those aerial assaults here, but we've also seen throughout the day today military helicopters flying across the city at a very low airspace. And then early this morning, before the sun came up, we had fighter jets rushing across this area, again at a low altitude, toward Gaza for more of the bombings that have continued throughout the day there as well. A lot of the focus continues to be on the border, the Rafah border specifically, and getting Americans out of Gaza through Egypt. To this point, that border remains closed. Nothing going in, nothing going out. The crowds are building there with word that that may be an area where some can evacuate. We do know that the UN has called for goods to come in, for water, for fuel, and other much needed items to move into Gaza. At this point, though, that has not happened. And what Egypt has said is they're not going to open the border for people to escape that region and move on if they don't see the goods going in first. And so that continues to be a holdup, and negotiations diplomatically are continuing as well. What we also see is the consistent buildup of troops, of munitions, of equipment for a potential ground assault. And that's something that we've been following over the last several days here. It hasn't happened to this point, but there are still indications that we are getting close to Israeli troops moving in on the ground into Gaza and continuing this fight. That is the very latest right now here in Tel Aviv. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you.
And this is a rapidly evolving situation. We'll update you as we learn more in our later newscasts or online at kgw.com. We've learned a young mother was the one who lost her life in Portland's 58th homicide of the year. Family members tell KGW that Kaylee Bolden died after getting shot near Southeast 86th and Foster yesterday morning. She was 26 years old and leaves behind 3 children. Police say 2 other people were taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. So far, no one is under arrest. KGW's Thomas Schultz talked to people who live and work in the area.
Because it's getting bad out here. It is really bad out here.
Crime tape lines the block around Southeast Foster and 86th Avenue Sunday after police say a person was shot and killed just after 4 in the morning. 2 others are in the hospital with life-threatening bullet wounds.
And it just seems like things are going a little crazy now.
And people I spoke with say shootings like this one are becoming more common out here on Foster. It's becoming so bad that some are even considering moving out of Portland.
It makes me want to move, actually, out of Portland.
David Quintero lives up the street from 86th Avenue. He's cautious to let anyone in his family out of the house.
I got 3 kids of my own. I don't even let my kids come outside.
And so far this year, Portland has had 58 homicides. This is the 4th in the past 9 days. Last year, Portland set a record with 96 homicides. And neighbors say this area has long had issues.
Foster area, this Foster area is getting crazier.
So crazy, Israel Rayo left the neighborhood.
Just had to move out, and now it's a safer place. I have 2 kids, and every time I would wake up, they would wake up hearing cops and everything, man.
Others have been gone for years.
All my childhood friends left because of the shootings and all the crime that's happened here in Portland.
And as police investigate this shooting, neighbors say more officers are needed, something Mayor Ted Wheeler in a recent statement says he's working on to keep neighborhoods like this one safe and to keep people in the Rose City. Though for now, many think it'll be a long time before they feel safe on this Foster block.
It's inevitable that things are going to get worse before they get better.
In Southeast Portland, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
Other headlines we're tracking for you this noon. It is back to the bargaining table for Kaiser pharmacy techs and imaging workers here in the Northwest. They are not covered by the tentative deal reached Friday between Kaiser and a coalition of unions. Workers in Oregon and Southwest Washington are asking for a 43% pay raise over 4 years. Only the pharmacists are on strike. The imaging workers can't take action until their contract expires November 1st. You can find more specifics about the negotiations on our website. 1,300 Peace Health workers will go on strike next week. Their union says they'll hit the picket lines on the 23rd, which is a week from today. Striking workers include those in tech, service, and maintenance in Vancouver and lab workers in Longview. The union says negotiations have stalled over staffing and pay. And Safeway and Albertsons are now offering COVID shots. You can either walk in or make an appointment. You can also get your COVID shot at the same time you get vaccinated for the flu and RSV. Pharmacists say most insurance plans cover 100% of the cost. Well, the investigation into a Portland murder case has gone cold. Dion Matthews was killed downtown 8 years ago this month. Now his mother is asking the public for help to catch his killer. Here's what she told KGW's Ashley Grams.
8 years ago, emergency lights flashed outside Dante's nightclub in downtown Portland. Police tape lined the area where a man had been shot and killed.
And they was like, I heard that somebody killed him. And I'm like, no, not my son. I was like, no, so I still didn't believe it.
Today, evidence of that crime is gone. But the pain Tanya Mayo feels about the loss of her 23-year-old son, Dion Anthony Matthews Jr., is not.
8 years later, it's still real tender. So many cruel and this hatred people in the world, this evil. My son did not deserve this at all.
She says Dion had a 2-year-old son at the time and another on the way.
He was a great father, a loving, caring, great son. And that's what I'm going to always cherish his memory by.
But Tanya's grief runs deep, even 8 years later, because police have never been able to find Dion's killer.
I know people know something. They seen something because it was all over the news that night when it happened. People's cars scattered, people running.
She's asking anyone who might know anything about the night Dion was killed to speak up.
Do the right thing. I know you got a conscience and I know you got a heart. And if you have love in your heart for people, just stand up and do what's right.
And while she waits for answers about the night her oldest child was taken from this world, Tanya says she knows Dion is watching over her.
He's always letting me know that I'm still close and dear to you, Mom. I haven't left you.
Ashley Grams, KGW News.